Welcome to Heritage Food Stories, Episode 13, The History and Recipes of the Kashmiri Wedding Wazwan. When we talk about the world's most elaborate culinary traditions, few meals rival the grandeur of the Kashmiri Wazwan, a multi-course wedding feast that is as much about identity, history, and community as it is about food. Today, we're traveling to the northern Indian state of Kashmir to explore one of the most iconic and complex wedding traditions in the world. I'm your host, Chef Murray, chef, food historian, and culinary storyteller with a lifelong passion for exploring global cuisines with you and the stories behind the food we eat. Before we get into today's episode, can you do me a favor? Hit that like button and let's start a conversation in the comments. Did you know about the Wazwan before? And how many of you now want to attend your first Wazwan? Almost no wedding in the world rivals the culinary feast, variety of rituals, and colorful grandeur of traditional Indian weddings. From South Indian weddings where rows of banana leaves are filled with dozens of dishes, to North Indian weddings with expansive buffets of rich curries, aromatic rice dishes, and vibrant vegetables. Indian weddings are celebratory feasts unrivaled, but the Kashmiri Wazwan is truly a step above the rest. However, to understand the Wazwan, we have to understand Kashmir itself, because this cuisine does not exist outside of its history. Many people in the West treat Indian cuisine and culture as a monolith, but that couldn't be further from the truth. India is home to over 1 billion people in 28 states and 8 union territories, with dozens of linguistic, religious, and cultural identities. Kashmir itself is one of the most historically complex regions. Officially known as the state of Jammu and Kashmir, it is a state in northwestern India, sitting at a geopolitical crossroads bordering Pakistan, Afghanistan, and China. It has a legacy since the partition of India and Pakistan in 1947 of much dispute between India and Pakistan and between the Hindu and Muslim communities of the state. The border territories generally went to India or Pakistan at the time of partition, depending on which religion was the majority of the state. This did not happen in Kashmir because Jawaharlal Nehru, one of the primary statesmen in negotiating partition, being a Kashmiri Pandit, did not want his beloved home state to be ceded to Pakistan. 4 wars have been fought between India and Pakistan over Kashmir, including the 1999 Kargil War, which was depicted in the movie LOC Kargil, available on YouTube with subtitles. I will be linking it in the show notes. Additionally, there's been dozens of armed conflicts that have occurred over the years. One of the most painful aspects of this history is the sectarian violence between Kashmiri Muslims and Kashmiri Pandits. In the late 20th century, especially during the 1990s, thousands of Kashmiri Pandits were forced to flee the Kashmir Valley due to targeted violence, threats, and killings. This created a mass displacement that still affects generations today. So while you will hear about ideas like coexistence and shared culture, and those are real, it is equally important to acknowledge that this history includes conflict, trauma, and unresolved tensions. That context matters when we talk about food because food does not exist in a vacuum. So now let's talk about the Wazwan itself. Wazwan is a traditional multi-course feast from Kashmir, often consisting of up to 36 dishes, most famously served at weddings and major celebrations. But this isn't just a meal, it's a performance, an art form, and a statement of cultural identity. The word comes from waza, meaning cook or chef, wan, meaning shop or place. So Wazwan translates loosely to the cook's place. But in reality, it represents a highly respected culinary tradition. At weddings, teams of trained chefs, the wazas, prepare the meal over hours, sometimes days. Traditionally, this is done in open-air kitchens using large vessels and clay ovens called dans. Today, some modern adaptations exist, like cooking on gas stoves, but the ritual and structure remain. The Wazwan reflects centuries of migration, conquest, and cultural exchange. Kashmir was a key point along the Silk Road, connecting Central Asia, Persia, and South Asia. Many historians trace the roots of Wazwan to Central Asian and Persian culinary traditions, likely introduced during the 14th century with the arrival of Timur from present-day Uzbekistan. Over time, additional ruling powers shaped the cuisine. The Mughal Empire in the 16th to 18th century, Afghan rule in the 18th century, Sikh rule during the early 19th century, and the Dogra dynasty between 1846 to 1947 when partition occurred. Each of these layers added something, but the cuisine remained distinctly Kashmiri. So when you eat wazwan, you are tasting Persian influence, Central Asian technique, local Kashmir identity, and culinary traditions. The wazwan is part of Kashmiri Muslim cuisine, where it is a central part of celebrations and social identity. The key components include meat-heavy courses, especially lamb, prepared according to halal traditions, deeply tied to communal gatherings. However, Kashmiri Pandits, the Hindu Brahmins of the region, have their own culinary wedding feast, traditionally referred to as sal, although the name is rarely used today. And while there is overlap, there are also clear distinctions shaped by religion, philosophy, and history. In general, Kashmiri cuisine is one of the most aromatic and flavorful of Indian cuisines. Fennel and ginger permeate Kashmiri Pandit cuisine, and the use of abundant herbs like mint, cilantro, and green chilies permeate Kashmiri food. Kashmiri Muslim cuisine includes the heavy use of garlic and onions, rich layered meat dishes, with a strong Persian and Central Asian influence. Kashmiri Pandit cuisine does not use onion or garlic. Traditionally, asafoetida, also known as hing, which is sassafras, instead is used to yield the same flavors. More yogurt is utilized. Primarily vegetarian, although unlike other Brahmin communities, they do eat meat, particularly lamb and fish. And importantly, these are not just culinary differences. They reflect two communities that have shared geography, but not always shared experience. Dishes like rogan josh exist in both traditions, but it is prepared differently. Now let's talk about how the wazwan is actually served, because this is where it becomes unforgettable. At a traditional Kashmiri wedding, guests sit on the floor in groups of four. A large copper plate called a trami is placed in front of them. The meal is shared communally. The experience follows a ritual. Hands are washed in a ceremonial basin. Rice is served first, then dish after dish is layered on top. This isn't individual dining. It's communal, immersive, and symbolic of hospitality and unity. While a wazwan can include dozens of varieties of dishes, several are essential. Rogan josh, the famous red lamb curry. Rista, aromatic herbaceous meatballs in gravy. Gushtaba, soft meatballs in yogurt sauce, often the final dish. Tabak maz, fried lamb ribs. Yakhni, a yogurt-based curry. And kebabs. These dishes showcase technical precision and a deep understanding of spice, texture, and balance. Now, while the wazwan is largely meat-based, vegetarian dishes do exist, and they definitely are more prevalent in Pandit cuisine, with things like damalu, a rich potato curry, hak, green vegetables like mustard greens, cooked in a chili-infused broth with minimal spices, nadru, lotus root dishes. These dishes reflect a different side of Kashmiri food, one that is equally rooted in tradition. Now, you might not be getting a Wazwan invitation anytime soon, but you can still explore these flavors in your own kitchen. Here are some traditional Kashmiri recipes from my blog. I'll link everything in the show notes. Rogan Josh, a rich aromatic lamb curry. Rishta Palak, fragrant meatballs simmered in a spinach-based curry. Kashmiri saffron tea, known as kava. This golden tea is infused with aromatic saffron. Zarda Palau, a sweet dessert rice with dried fruits. Kashmiri naan, a sweet flatbread stuffed with dried fruits infused with fennel. Badi curry, this delicious dish of Kashmiri Pandit cuisine, utilizes sun-dried lentils as the primary ingredient. Rajma masala, kidney bean stew. Dogri chicken masala, traditional spiced chicken that will become your new favorite chicken recipe. Kashmiri style cauliflower stir fry. This fennel infused cauliflower is representative of Kashmiri Pandit cuisine. Apple date chutney. The use of dried fruits is ubiquitous in Kashmiri cuisine, and this fruit based chutney is just one of the many ways fruits are utilized in Kashmiri cuisine. These recipes reflect both celebration food and everyday cooking because Kashmir cuisine is not just about the feast. Now back to the Wazwan. Wazwan isn't just about food, it's about identity. It represents hospitality, status, depending on how many dishes are prepared, community, heritage. It also reflects the idea of Kashmiriyat, a shared cultural identity. But that identity exists alongside a history that is not always peaceful and understanding. Both sides is essential to truly understanding the cuisine. When we talk about a feast like the Wazwan, with its 30 plus dishes, its ceremony, and its beauty, it's easy to focus only on the celebration. However, the truth is that not every Kashmiri family has been able to gather around that kind of table. For many, especially over the last few decades, those traditions have been interrupted by conflict, by displacement, and by the realities of living in a region that has seen generations of unrest. There are Kashmiri Pandit families who still remember the foods of their home kitchens, but had to leave that home behind. There are also Kashmiri Muslim families who have continued these traditions under the weight of militarization and instability. So when we talk about Wazwan, we're not just talking about abundance. We're also talking about memory and what it means to hold on to recipes, to recreate flavors, and to preserve identity even when everything else is uncertain. Because food, especially in places like Kashmir, it's not just nourishment. It's continuity, it's resilience, and sometimes it's the only piece of home that people can carry with them. So the next time you hear about a Kashmiri wedding, remember that you're not just hearing about a meal, you're hearing about centuries of history, migration and empire, conflict and coexistence, and a culinary tradition that continues to evolve today. And if you are lucky enough to ever receive an invitation to a Kashmiri Wazwan, don't miss it. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to check out my Kashmiri recipes on the blog and share this episode with someone who loves food history as much as you do. Until next time, keep exploring, keep cooking, and keep learning the stories behind your food because those stories give us a deeper understanding of people and of the world around us. Thanks so much for listening. For behind the scenes cooking, food history, and global flavors, follow me on social media at Chef Mireille. All the links are in the show notes. I'll catch you next time.